New video into Fox News. Our cameras capturing the moment early this morning that a bus full of migrants from Texas arrived in Washington, D.C. The steady stream of migrant buses to the Capitol has prompted the city's Democratic Mayor Muriel Bowser to call on the National Guard for help.
We need space, and we need the federal government to be involved. So I've asked for the deployment of the Guard, as long as we need the Guard to deal with the humanitarian crisis that we expect to escalate. The number of people crossing the border seeking asylum, we expect to only go up.
Meanwhile, the White House is accusing the Republican governors of Texas and Arizona of using migrants as political pawns.
That is shameful, and that is just wrong. There is a process in place for managing migrants at the border. This is not it. What they're doing, the way that they're meddling in the process and using migrants as a political pawn is just wrong. They are being used, Peter. They're being used by Republican governors.
Tommy, what do you make of this?
Bring on the buses.
Game?
Bring on the buses, because these blue city mayors and these blue states need to feel the pain of border cities and border states that are being inundated. And the difference is these migrants, these illegal immigrants coming into areas like D.C. and coming into New York, this kind of city can maybe absorb some of that.
Yeah.
These little border towns are being completely overrun, completely inundated. Their mayors are having to declare a state of emergency. They have nowhere to put these people. These people are sleeping in parks. You've got unaccompanied minors. You've got them flying into places like Middle Tennessee in the middle of the night on these secret flights. Instead of saying we need to have the National Guard come help us with this humanitarian crisis for these asylum seekers, why don't we actually have a process where we separate the true asylum seekers from those that are just trying to come into our country and taking advantage of Biden's open border? This is a self-inflicted wound, and it's so easy for mayors sitting in D.C. to talk about how they want to open the floodgates to everybody until they see it in their backyard. And it's not just the mayors. It's going to be these liberals in these blue cities who are going to start to see their cities change and be inundated, and they're going to see it on a small scale, by the way, to what these border cities are experiencing. And then maybe they might have a change of heart about remain in Mexico, and that'll be the day.
Yeah, it's a great point. And Emily, you know, when Governor Abbott started busing migrants to Washington, D.C., a lot of Republicans thought it was clever. They thought it was a clear act of political desperation, but I don't think anybody thought it would actually move the needle. And it has, with just 4,000 people. So, like Tommy said, imagine how those small towns along the border feel.
Right, and well, that's added in as well to the administration flying many people throughout the entire country, including here to New York. I really appreciated Senator Ted Cruz's point that he tweeted, quote, D.C. Mayor rightly calls the massive influx of illegal aliens a humanitarian crisis. She says, he wrote, with 4,000 arriving in D.C., we're at a tipping point. And then he goes, if 4,000 is a tipping point, what the hell do you call the 3.5 million illegal immigrants who've crossed our southern border? He's absolutely right. To your point, you cannot overstate the overwhelming nature of that quantity of numbers. I think, frankly, it's impossible for us to sort of appreciate. And that's why it's not even just about the border anymore, because it has impacted so many states, including the 23 states that filed a lawsuit to help close the border. So that's 3.5 million, 55,000 gotaways per month. That was confirmed this week by DHS to Fox. Yeah. 11,000 unaccompanied minors currently in HHS custody as of 3 days ago, per their website today. The dozens of instances of sexual abuse reported by these unaccompanied minors because the border is being flooded and the whole system and our communities are totally overwhelmed. And I have to point out, just, you know, for this party and this administration who claims to be one of compassion, it is mind-boggling to me that they can overlook these serious statistics, especially those of the sexual abuse, the physical assault that some unaccompanied minors have had to endure, including one where they were just moved to separate rooms. Child Protective Services was never notified. Law enforcement was never notified because they are not official. They're like shadows in this country, and that's the worst part about it.
So, Jessica, what does President Biden do? Does he deploy the National Guard? And if he does, is that an admission that this crisis is, in fact, a crisis?
I think that the solution is always in the middle, right? It's not necessarily like build the wall and we can't take any of these asylum seekers in and, you know, have them then go back for their court date. And it's not what we're seeing, which is just too much. I refuse to say this is an open border policy because there are way too many apprehensions and way too much fentanyl stopped for you to be saying that. But I do think that the administration should give more federal resources to states like I shouldn't say states, it should be a state, to D.C. And
That's a different topic.
Maybe we'll do that for the C block. And to New York, for instance, Mayor Adams has asked for assistance as well because our shelter system is overrun. We do have jobs for many of these people. We know that. And we know in a city like New York City and DC, Los Angeles, Miami, et cetera, that there are tons of undocumented folks who work and live here. They have kids who are here and they're productive members of society who pay into our tax systems even when they don't have social security numbers. So there's a middle ground solution here.
500,000 known gotaways this past fiscal year, almost 1 million since President Biden took office, fentanyl pouring across the border in record numbers as well. Guy, what do you think about all that?
Yeah, you can make the claim that the borders are not completely open, the whole sector down there, but it's certainly not closed. We do not have a closed border. We do not have a secured border. But the DHS secretary just last week again asserted that the border is secure. So I guess they're redefining secure just like they redefined recession, right? It's just
it's a transition, Guy.
Alternate.
Are you enjoying it?
It is definitely transitory. That is true. That's another word that they like. So I think that's not a point of credibility on the administration's part. As for what Governor Abbott has done, when it first was announced, this busing program, people called it a stunt. I think that's maybe a fair description, but it's been a successful stunt.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, it is a political stunt.
Just a few months
this is exactly right.
Bowser's crying uncle after, 4,000 people show up. And I would like to hear the White House press secretary pushed a little harder on what is so shameful about what's happening here. She's like, oh, they're being used. What exactly is the problem here, and why is it Texas's fault and not the administration's fault? I doubt she has a good answer anywhere in her binder.
Yeah, so I think that's also a great point. And Governor Abbott's being very clear. Yeah, this is a political statement that we're making, but it was also a political statement when the Biden administration did open the borders and incentivize people to come here for a political reason.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.